So, mall tour season kicked off on March 20th, and hopefully you all checked out the triple threat of videos that I put out detailing my 3 trips to malls in New York and Connecticut with one of my best friends, Caitlin. Now, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the mall tour coming back because, well, it was such a big part of last year. And I just feel like this year, already through a few stops, it has embodied exactly what I wanted it to. Now, this year's kickoff was pretty ambitious. Maybe not quite as ambitious as last year's, where I went to Pennsylvania and met my longtime fan Shay goodbye. But it was, in some ways, it was actually more ambitious because we hit 3 malls in 2 different areas. Really, kind of the day ran very smoothly because we got there about 1 o'clock, stayed at the Galleria for a couple hours, checked out the Westchester for another couple hours, and finally ended up at Connecticut Post Mall, which was a mall that I really wanted to go to last year. It's a mall that I've been curious about, if only because it is the largest in Connecticut. I feel like I needed to see the largest in Connecticut when I've seen all the other malls in Connecticut, or most of them, more on that later. But it was a really great day, and I said this in a 2016 mall tour, I believe it was Buckland Hills, but it's not the malls that make the mall tour, it's the people. And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, like wouldn't it be the malls, but not necessarily. I've been to a lot of malls, I've been to some malls multiple times, and they're always fun to just check out, but, checking them out alone would be kind of boring after a while. So I've really liked having, especially in the last few years, Caitlin, John, Jeff, Kurt, whoever, come along with me on a mall tour. Some of my most memorable moments are at malls that weren't even that good, like last year's mall tour to Auburn Mall, where I went with Frankie and we just kind of goofed around the whole time. And I've actually got another mall tour video coming out hopefully later this week from a mall tour I just took. There'll be more on that later. But yeah, this kickoff event was huge, and it really went very well. Every mall had something memorable about it, and every mall was really different, and I'm hoping to continue that throughout the mall tour this year. Every mall had a different feel to it. The Galleria in White Plains kind of remind me of the Crystal Mall in the 90s. It was very bright, very kind of open, had 4 floors, which no mall in Connecticut I've seen has. Had the food court with just kind of your traditional staple restaurants, your Burger King, Taco Bell, KFC, all that stuff. But then it also had some nicer stores in there. And then you went to, the Westchester, which had all nicer stores. The Westchester, of course, I joked about it, calling it the Diamond Square Mall. It really was kind of like that. Everything seemed like it was way out of my price range. Not that it matters, because I never buy anything. And then finally you had Connecticut Post Mall, which might have been my favorite mall of the 3. It was kind of a good combination of the 2. It was a really big mall, but it was also kind of on the 90s side of things, the more laid-back side of things. Really weren't too many fancy stores at Connecticut Post. You had a big Target. You had, some of the other attractions like the turbo rides, like all the crane machines in the mall. It seems like stuff that I would have just loved as a kid, like to just keep going to that mall and not only checking out the stores, but checking out some of the fun attractions they had. And, the look of the mall was really nice. I liked the colors. I liked the different styles to the mall. Like, as you got to one side, it looked a little different than the other side. And, malls tend to get a little predictable, especially when you've been to over 20 of them. I actually talked about that in the mall tour video. I've taken over 20 mall tours since the tradition returned in 2015, and I didn't see that coming. Mall tour used to be kind of just a fun little novelty that I did once in a great while, and now it's really kind of ramped up into something else, and I didn't even expect that coming, and I've had so many great memories over the last couple of years of doing mall tours, going to Holyoke Mall, going to West Farms a few times. Buckland Hills, of course, is always a good time. Those are the malls I'm familiar with. But then, getting to go to these different ones like the Galleria, the Westchester, and last year quite a few new malls made their debut. Palisades Mall last year was the biggest I've ever been to. I'm hoping to even outdo that this year, but we'll have to see. And it's just such an exciting time for the mall tour and just for life in general with the spring coming upon us. The weather's getting better. And this day in March 20th, was just a really great day. I just wanted to kind of talk about it, maybe see what your impressions were of the early mall tour videos. I did a pretty good job of teasing it for the couple weeks leading up to the release, because I really wanted the mall tour to hit hard again, Mall tour 2016 was fun, but I feel like it kind of stagnated toward the end, It was very strong in April through June, and then for the rest of the year, it was kind of just there, and you got to Danbury Fair Mall at the end of last year. Hard to believe that was only a few months ago, actually. December of last year, I went to Danbury Fair Mall, And it was a fun mall, definitely a nice way to certainly tie a bow on things for the 2016 Mall Tour season. But I wanted to kind of come out swinging for the 2017 season, so I did that. I drove to New York, and New York has a lot of nice malls. Don't be surprised if New York sees a lot more malls this year. Not necessarily the city, because I just won't drive in Manhattan, but definitely some of the other areas in New York, upstate New York, and different things like that. I'm very curious to check those out. Also, probably going to check on some malls in Massachusetts. There's some really big malls there. Saw the Holyoke Mall a couple years ago. Interested in seeing more like that. As far as Connecticut malls, I mentioned that. I will probably be checking out a couple more of those. I've seen almost every mall in Connecticut. They range from okay to pretty good. The main mall I go to is the Crystal Mall in Waterford, and that's pretty good. But Connecticut Post Mall I thought was like an 8 out of 10. That was a really nice mall. And, like I said, it's not just about the malls anyway. So there's going to be new people joining me. I had a new person join me for the last mall tour. I've had new people on almost every mall tour. It's almost never the same people. But even if it is, I love the people I go with. So there's going to be a lot of new people, new places, maybe some old places. But the mall tour is already back. I just wanted to talk about how it's come back, maybe get some of your impressions, what you thought of it so far, and where I'm going to go with it this summer. Who knows? We'll see what happens. That's just kind of the thing about it. There's no set schedule. There are some places I want to hit, but there's no set schedule. So, mall tour goes on all year long. Hopefully I have your support checking it out. Bobby Gaines here reporting live for Bobby Productions 2017. We'll see you in the next video.